Hey guys, Jason for TheChartGuys looking at Amazon. I'm going to start in the daily time frame because we are getting close to oversold on that daily, and RSI is currently at 33.27. So we've got an hourly trend that we're going to spend some time looking at. But if we get a good flush to the downside on that hourly trend, scrape that bottom, see good hourly oversold build up, that will also put us into a position for our daily to be in an oversold position. And should we manage to do that right around 1844 support, things are looking good for a quick move to the upside and getting a couple good oversold bounces. Daily time frame, we have support 1844 as mentioned and 1818, and unfortunately we don't have anything on the 4-hour time frame, and we will be using those levels for that as well. Jump to the hourly. Here's where we start to see that trend develop, and you know what, we're scraping bottom right now. So if we open pre-market, even if we're below, it's a zone of support and resistance, and we're going to find that acting in conjunction with our trend line. I would expect to see oversold conditions allow us to get at least a little bit of a bump toward the resistance on this trend line. So let's go and try and draw that in right now. It would look something like this, and I'm just connecting greens, trying to connect most of the price action, and then I go and drag that to the downside and try to encompass most of the trading action in the same way. So we're pretty much containing everything. We're not sold or convinced on hard values for these trend lines, but you know, we get a good flush tomorrow, get underneath that trend, because we know we can get underneath the trend line and bounce right back into it. We want to see a flush, ideally, let's call it 1825. And then a good bounce, because we're oversold on the hourly at that point, oversold on the daily, and see if we can get back up to, I don't know, 1880, something like that. Just theoretical movements in price action here. And that would be in the range of what our ATR has been doing, at least for the last week or so. So one of the possibilities, and really technical analysis is all about possibilities and preparing for those situations. So instead of tomorrow possibly seeing a big flush to the downside and panic selling, you look at that as an opportunity, knowing that the daily and the hourly RSI is massively oversold, and you can get a good long entry position for a quick scalp, or even maybe just a swing over a day or two, that sort of thing. But that's what we're looking for. Nice continuation so far. On the hourly, we have support at, well, we broke 1849, and ultimately it comes down to these 1884 and the 1818, that daily and 4-hour support level. Hourly resistance at 1897, and then of course probably I'm going to call this a zone of support resistance around 1915 to 1917, 1947. Then we started looking for those hourly trend changes to turn into 4-hour trend changes, in which case we need to get the bulls having a nice high over 1897 and then a new higher low for potential action. And if that does happen, we will have more time to cover it in the coming days, so keep an eye on that. But right now, all about that hourly action and preparing for some potential moves tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night. Hey guys, Jason for TheChartGuys taking a look at Netflix. This one's going to be short just because the hourly trend is doing exactly what we want to see. We're seeing lower lows, lower highs. We set the last lower high at 328.58 before pulling back. We're now seeing a support test at 318.53. Should that break in after hours or early pre-market, or even early in the morning action tomorrow, a good flush on that will have us looking at hourly oversold territory, and that will put us right in line with this theoretical support in the trend line for that hourly trend, in which case we would look for a bounce to the upside. So possibly we could get a good opportunity for a quick long position tomorrow just based on that fact, and then of course looking for an hourly lower high to follow that. That would look something like this. We'd see a flush and then movement back up to the upside. And, you know, as long as this trend stays intact, the more useful it becomes. The longer a trend is in play, the more reliable it is. So we're going to wait to see what happens there. We still need to break 318.53 conclusively. I'm not happy with this break quite yet, but this is pretty bearish, and we still have a little bit of room to go for those before that hourly RSI gets into oversold territory. So right now the major levels are 318.53 and 328.58. And one other thing I like to do once I start looking at protracted trend lines is I draw in a parallel channel, and I draw it right along my resistance line, and then I stretch that out to the furthest point that I've seen price action go above the trend line. So I'm looking at 331.77, that candle, and then also 328.58. So I know that we can get inside this purple area, stay above our trend line on the hourly, and still pull back. So that is important. If we get above the trend line, we get above that zone of resistance on good volume, it's likely that trend has changed. So that's one of the signals that we can use to find good longer term entry opportunities, because that will carry over the trend change to the 4 and the daily time frames as well. So keeping a close eye on that. On the 4-hour time frame for supports, we have a little bit down here at, let's call this guy 316.02. So I will copy that, put 316.02 on the map here for myself, and not a bad target opportunity actually. If we go back to that hourly, see a flush right to that support level, look for a trend change on 2515 and see if we can't capture a nice upswing in tomorrow's trading action. And that's it for today. Good luck to you tomorrow, and hopefully things go well with Netflix. We'll see if we can do a good breakdown video, and if it's a perfect scenario and it does exactly what we want it to do, we'll have a nice trade review. If not, we will learn a lesson, as we often do in the market. Hey Teslaholics, Jason here for Chart Guys, taking a look at today's action. Pretty bearish day overall. We do have daily support that we need to be paying attention to way down here at 222.25. That's a lot of twos. And we're looking for the bulls to hold higher low on the daily time frame should we get down there and just try to keep this nice daily strength after this gap down situation. We'll see what happens there. On the 4-hour time frame, we are seeing some weakness after that nice little descending scalp we spent some time talking about, but ultimately it comes down to what happened here. We spent some time yesterday talking about that trend change and the potential head and shoulders. So what we were talking about was basically that for quite a while we've been setting higher highs, higher lows on the hourly time frame, and we knocked that out with a big flush to 236.65, and we said watch out for a lower high underneath 246.68. If we get that, then we got a potential weird looking head and shoulders. We lost 240.62, which was the low of that consolidation here, and then we saw a dump, back test, and now we're seeing a nice pennant on very, very low volume because it's after hours, but it's a little bit of an EQ shape here. Maybe we'll get a little bit more detail. There we go on the 5-minute time frame. Nice tightening range, lower highs, higher lows, which is good. And now we are meandering. So I'm going to be paying attention to where we wake up tomorrow. What's our pre-market action doing? We have a low 231.77 support, and then I'm going to be looking for that initial flush to act as that resistance 234.87. But ultimately, if we were to be playing this right now in real market action, this would be a bearish continuation pattern, and we need to keep eyes on that. If we go to the hourly time frame, what will that do for us? Well, we have 231.70 support. Lose that, we're at 225 and then 222.25. Lots of twos, and that's it for today. Well, we should look at the contrary, actually. If we manage to pull this back and move to the upside, we do have some resistance. Again, I'm going to call that 240.62 because that has been a level here on our back test. We came down, hit that, and went back up really, really quick. So that's going to be a level for us. And then ultimately we need to get over 244.51. And this high, 245.98. Oh, there it is. 246.68. That's the guy we need to be watching for 4-hour resistance. So we just need to be prepared for all sides, because if we break 246.68 on good volume, we don't really have any resistance for, well, on 268.20. So a lot of potential if bulls can get things under control. But right now, it's looking like we are seeing some continuation of the downside after that weird head and shoulders pattern. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Hey guys, Jason here for Chart Guys, taking a look at Apple. Apple was definitely impacted by some tariff news today, so that's changed the story pretty much midway through what was happening in today's price action. And I think, unless I see otherwise, I'm just going to remove these trend lines. So much has happened in the past couple of days that I think that daily trend is gone, and we need to look for guidance in different areas. So let's go through today's price action, see where we are right now and what's setting up for tomorrow. So first of all, daily support has held and is currently holding 206.73. That was the last higher low on the daily time frame. Still holding and needs to hold, or else this daily trend is going to change to the downside. It's been moving up very, very well since way back here in June, and that's at risk of being lost right now. Unless bulls can really turn things around tomorrow, we're going to lose that trend. And again, that level is 206.73. Next daily support is down at 202.36. So let's go to the 15-minute time frame for a little bit of information here. Here we saw that nice strong open. We saw 218.03 as our high, and then eventually we just saw a crazy dump. So one question is, how could we have reacted to, and what was our signal for the big change here? So I'm going to go the 2-minute time frame for that. And really, it comes down to just recognizing trend changes and escalations. And in this case, I'm not even sure we would have been able to rely on the 2-minute time frame because we are already in a 2-minute downtrend. So let's go to the 5-minute time frame and see if that offered us any information here. No, we're definitely in a 2-minute downtrend, and we would have expected to see a loss of 216.66 if we're going to see continued lower lows, lower highs. Let's go to the 15-minute time frame, try to find some guidance there, and then I guess ultimately it comes down to the loss of 216.87. That was a 50-minute high or low. We saw that hold here. We saw that bounce. We saw a break. We held EMA 26 support, bounced up just a titch, and then we saw a dump. So if you were just relying on pure price action through trend changes, the 15-minute would have been your only heads up. Otherwise, news related, and you just saw a red apocalypse of carnage and our RSI getting oversold for quite a while, ultimately hitting a low of around 16, which is pretty crazy on the 15-minute time frame. So the last thing I want to point out is looking at that 15-minute time frame, and I think maybe even looks better on the 5-minute time frame. We've set up a nice descending wedge shape here. A descending wedge is a nice potentially bullish signal, especially when so many things are oversold. And here we are in a nice descending wedge, multiple time frames oversold. Our hourly time frame, how's that doing? Oversold at 33. We're holding that support. 15-minute is 25. You get the idea. We're oversold. We're at a major support, and we have ourselves a bullish pattern developing. So if tomorrow morning we see this break to the upside, that will be good. We might get a back test of that support, but ultimately we want to see some strength. We're seeing the development of strength through this pattern. We need to see the support hold, and then we need to see good volume, break 208.40, and then ultimately we want to see a break of a nice 15-minute high. And let's call that one. Well, that's 208.40. That's the one we want to see. So it's all about 206.73. We'll keep an eye on that, and we will check in tomorrow. Good luck to you, and I appreciate you watching the video.